Hello students, my name is Dr. Shantanu Ganguly. I am the Chief Librarian of All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Today, we are going to discuss on a very important area called Peripheral Information Professionals and Human Sources of Information. Who are these information professionals? You have lawyers, doctors, teachers, subject matter experts, resource persons, technological gatekeepers, invisible college, common people, head of a family, village head, priest, postman, police, matchmaker, receptionist. So all of them, in one sense, they are information professionals and they are disseminating information. Let us take an example of lawyer today. They are responsible for the purchase of assets, to solving the disputes, getting a society registered. Lawyers are the persons who provide us the necessary information. Lawyers collect information in the form of facts and compile petitions and prepare the arguments. Lawyers also charge a fee, so it is never a free. There are various categories of lawyers. Some of them deal with the civil cases like marriage registration, registration of journals, sales tax, income tax, legal procedure, involved in the sale or purchase of properties, obtaining licenses for doing the business. Where the another category of lawyers deals with the criminal cases such as cheating, theft, robbery, murder, etc. Depending on the crime, the lawyer informs about the quantum of punishment, the possibility of winning a particular case. There are certain attorneys who help the inventor in filing the applications for the patent and fighting the cases relating to the patents. Next is your doctor. Now, doctors, a person suffering from an ailment goes to a doctor for medicines whereby he or she is cured. The doctor first of all gathers information from the patient about the symptoms. Thereafter, the doctor examines the patient. If the doctor can diagnose the disease, he or she informs the patient about the disease. He or she is suffering from the disease and prescribe medicines which the patient has to be take or apply. Let us tells us him or her how many times and how many days the medicines are to be taken, and also how the medicines are to be taken by mouth or injection, or they are simply to be applied on the affected area. So in each and every component, one is very clearly, it is noted that how the information dissemination is taking place from a doctor to a patient. In case the doctor cannot diagnose the disease unless and until he or she asks the patient to get some pathological test done. The results of the test help the doctor to diagnose the disease correctly. For health and diseases, doctors are the best source of information. In fact, in the initial stage, you will find that a large number of doctors are asking for the background information of that particular patient. The reason is why? Because they create a kind of a ground before giving their diagnosis to by the doctors. Then is a very important thing, your teachers. Now, teachers possess information on the subject they teach, the books, the journals on the subject, institutions where the subject is taught within the country and abroad, other teachers on the subject like availability of scholarship, job opportunities, research facilities available within the country and abroad. They also possess information about the students of their classes and many students whom they have taught earlier. Then comes your subject matter experts. When you talk about subject matter experts, an expert is a person who possesses sound knowledge on a subject or a technique. For example, for appointing an information scientist in an organization, we set up an interview board comprising of experts. They interview the candidates, judge their suitability of the post, and finally choose the best candidate depending on his or her knowledge, skill, qualification, and experience. For classifying a book, many a times a classifier cannot decide the subject. In such a case, he or she usually takes the help of an expert who knows the subject very well. Then comes your resource person. See, the connotation of the term resource person varies depending on the context. Normally, a resource person enriches a program by virtue of his or her vast knowledge. He or she provides the main intellectual input to the course for which he or she is the resource person by delivering the lectures and enriching other lectures by his or her comments and suggestions. Then comes your technological gatekeepers. Now, technological gatekeeper is a well-informed person in a particular field. Some scientists, technologists, and professionals in business, etc., have got a tendency or a possibly an inborn quality to acquire information from various sources to keep herself or himself abreast of the development in the field and to disseminate the information to a person or group who may be interested in the information. According to Zagnoli, a technological gatekeeper should have these four major qualities. Like, for example, he can have a technical authority, a high standard of technical and scientific professionalism, and a high level of verifiable performance, scientific publications, congress communications, and internal relationship, etc. A formal role in the organization. Often gatekeepers are coordinators of groups or project managers. A proponent and constructive attitude to the general problems of the business, and an attitude and interested attitude to innovation problems and to discuss with the colleagues. One of the important area which is coming up and is showcasing is invisible college. Now, as far as invisible college is concerned, it is not actually a college. Around 1645 AD, a group of persons interested in natural philosophy and other parts of human learning started meeting secretly at Gresham College and elsewhere in London under the name of the concept called Invisible College. In these meetings, they used to discuss about their research activities, results obtained, new areas that can be researched, etc. The practice continued till today. Of course, not in secret, but in open meetings, like national and international conferences where scholars belong to the same discipline get acquainted each other. A kind of a community is created. Came to know who is doing what, so that there is no duplication of effort, and discuss during a tea time, lunch, and a dinner their areas of research, problems they are facing, latest findings, etc. In fact, particularly because of this concept, lot of collaborative research are coming into the picture now. This acquaintance often turns into friendship, which continues when they exchange their reprints, corresponds with one another through letters, talk over the phone, etc. Invisible College as a loosely formed association of like-minded people who come together to share their experiences and knowledge. It is more or less like an area-specific knowledge society. Then comes another interesting area is your common people. When I'm talking about a common people, let us take an example like children. A growing child starts picking up information while exploring his or her house, meeting relatives, playing with toys, etc. By the time a child is 3, he or she can tell where a particular toy has been kept. In the preschool, a child learns about his or her friends, teachers, toys, and equipment for playing available in the school building, environment of the school, etc. He or she gives this information to parents and others. In this way, in preschools, he or she becomes a source of information. In the school, a child gathers a great deal of information and can provide information about the location of the school, compound, school uniforms for boys and girls, classmates, teachers, books, school library, and the subjects are being taught, various events happening in the school, etc. In the school age going, a child starts reading newspaper, listening to radio, viewing the TV, meeting relatives and family friends and persons of the locality, exploring the locality, and thus gathers a world of information. A child, by virtue of being curious, often gathers more information than an adult. All these make a child a very good source of information. In many cases, the information given by an innocent child is considered as high trustworthy. Then comes your head of a family. Well, during the census, when we do the census survey, the head of the family is consulted for various types of informations. In fact, when you will go through the census data, you will find that there are a lot of information or data is collected at different heads. And most of these informations are collected from a head of a family. So the information obtainable from him or her includes among others the name, age, date of birth if available, sex, educational qualification, profession, marital status, health status of each member, etc. This about he or she can provide a lot of information such as the house where the family lives, the amount of land and other property the family possesses, income the family generates, religion and caste of the family, religious ceremonies like the family performs, holy places the family visits. Non-documentary sources engaged in mode of communication as well as means of transport, cycles, scooters, etc. of the family, costume of the family members, language the family speaks, sources of water and energy, doctors and family consultants and hospitals. The family visits electronic gadgets. The family uses like fridge, computer, TV, VCR, etc. Crops the family cultivates. Fruits the family grows. Domestic animals including the pets family rears. And food habit of the family, cultural program as well as the sports and games. These are the and TV literary activities of the family. Another important area is your village head. Newspapers the villagers read, religions the villagers follow, the religious and other festivals they organize, shrines the village as caste of the village people. Political affiliation of the villagers, panchayats, financial status of the villagers, availability of banks and loan, providing institutions, household industries and small scale industries, development plans and being executed, social welfare activities of the villagers, families falling below the poverty line, educational facilities available in the village and nearby areas, educational status of the village people, most educated person in the village, existing of post office, roads and transport facilities, common disease the villagers suffering, the herbs or herbal drugs and all they have, the family planning methods they have to adopt, the fruits and the flowers grown, domestic animals, milk products generated. All these informations is available with the village head. In fact, they provide a large number of information and they play a very, very important role in their panchayat, the development or in the village's development. And they constantly do it. And that's a very, very important area. Priest. A priest is an important person in our society. Usually he or she possesses the almanac, that is panchang, which provides the plethora of information about the date and time of various religious festivals, ceremonies like marriage and mundan and all, like the year and the zodiac signs. By going through the horoscope of a person, the priest tells his or her future, and some priests maintain a good collection of almanacs, using which or she can tell the corresponding dates of two different eras, say Samvat and the Gregorian era. So this is a very, very important, and in fact, one needs to, go through all these informations and you can see there is a large number of our informations are furnished in these areas. Postman possesses an information about every household, an adult person of the area that falls his or her jurisdiction. He or she knows the names of all many adult persons of the locality. Sometimes police and strangers go to the postman to locate a particular person or household. Many times a police requires information from the postman as to the place or a person where from a particular person receives letters or money orders. Police, which looks after the law and order situation of a particular place, possesses information about the entire area's law and order, which they serve, and also information about every household. They are also aware about the criminals and the criminal history of that area that falls under their jurisdictions. Biographers get a good deal of information from the police about celebrities who had spent some time in jail while fighting for freedom or any other cause. Matchmaker. In many countries of the world, arranged marriages are still prevalent, where matchmakers are generally found. They possess information about the brides and the bridegrooms. Usually, they keep in their records the photograph, the information regarding height, age, complexion, qualification, employment, salary, family history, etc. What they maintain can be determined is a small, manually compiled or electronically generated database. They provide the information on a payment basis, so it is never free. In fact, there are, like, for example, some of the sites which you visit, like shadi.com and all, you find there is a huge amount of information are provided there. For obtaining information from a matchmaker, one has to him or her the expected profile of a bride or a bridegroom. If there is a match between the given profile and the profile within the database, the inquirer is informed accordingly. Receptionist. Usually, receptionists are found in commercial organizations like hotels, industrial establishments, banks, insurance companies, and airlines offices. They are also to be seen in many government and non-government offices. Usually, they are smart, good-looking, well-mannered, fluent in conversations. Often, they present the first information about an organization. They possess substantial information about the organization, its employee, and they possess and the names and the phone numbers of the head of the organization, senior executives, junior executives, and other history, objects, functions, and achievements of the organization, testing and other facilities. The organization has products of the organization, publication of the organization, if any. So, a receptionist is basically a PRO, a public relation officer, who is the first point of contact in any organization. And many of the queries of the people, many of the informations, a basic information which is required by any individual can easily be obtained from the receptionist. So, they are the first point of contact. We need to understand that. So, with this, I'll tell you that there are large number of informations are available today. Large number of informations are available today. We can collect this information from the different types of stakeholders. The stakeholders which you have seen, it could be, the business people, it could be the government, it could be the lawyers, it could be the doctors, it could be the matchmakers, it could be the priests, the policemen and all. Each one of them is sitting on a, I would call it as a information hub. So, accordingly, you are being a library information science professional, you would be able to collect a horrendous amount of information from these people. And once you collect a large amount of information from these people, it would be very important for all of you to look into it. Because you need to understand, see, basically what is most important is, you have to understand that whom should I approach for what information? That's a very important mandate. I need to understand that whom should I approach for what particular information. Unless and until I know that I want information from XYZ departments, you won't be able to get the information from there. So, it is extremely important to understand. Let me take an example. I'll give you an example before I summarize. I want to give you an example. So, we have been doing a large number of projects with the, in the rural sector. And we used to collect a huge amount of information from the rural sector. Like for example, I'll give you an example from my past institution, which is a Voluntary Health Association of India. And we used to bring out a very small, interesting newsletter called Hamari Chitti Aapke Naam. In short form, we call it as HCAN. That particular newsletter was translated in almost more than, I think, 12-13 languages. Now, what does it contain? It used to contain a very, very interesting information about the different happenings which is taking place in the villages, number one. What are the new initiatives taken up by the government, the different schemes, the different programs? These are the policies for the benefit of the villages which are coming up. They are written in a very lucid language. They are written in their own languages, like in Bangla, in Hindi, in Marathi, in different languages which were written. There was a very classical case study I want to highlight here, that one of the, a tea stall, in one of the tea stalls in Madhya Pradesh, where we found that a tea stall seller, every day morning, he picks up one newsletter, because we used to deliver a lot of newsletters to the local people. Every day morning, he is a slightly literate person, so you used to take one newsletter which is in Hindi. and quite a good number of villages they used to come and get a cup of tea from that tea stall. So he used to read that newsletter, and extremely very vital information he used to disseminate to all these villages. So information dissemination in these kinds of, collecting informations. And see, it is not only, you need to understand, the information is not only disseminated by the information professionals, but it has to be disseminated it disseminates knowledge, information, data even by the different stakeholders which we have seen. Every individual disseminates informations on a different levels. Like, let me give you an examples of the healthcare sector, since I come from the healthcare sector. In one of the areas, you will see when the doctors is meeting the patients, he is diagnosing the disease of that particular patient. As I have mentioned earlier, that he is capturing the background information from him, he is putting together, encapsulating him, then he is diagnosing, and then he is going to giving him the information. But on the other hand, the doctor at many times, and this is a very, very important area I want to mention here, many times they need a lot of information ready-made. So we have a large collections of databases, e-journals, e-books, printed books, lot of other resources which are available in widespread. So what they do, basically they go through it and then they disseminate the knowledge, number one. Number two, sometimes these doctors are extremely dependent on very clinical librarians or medical librarians, where they approach them with certain problems. And when they approach the certain problems, when they approach the librarians with the certain problems, it is a sole responsibility of the librarian to understand the query and provide or cater that information, that packaged information to the doctor, who is a very important stakeholder. So these components are extremely important in today's context. Same with the, I would request you to, visit to the websites like your Supreme Court of India or High Court, and some of the universities also like National Law University and all. When you will visit, you will find they hold a large amount of informations related to what we call it on the law and regulations. All these informations are encapsulated. One of the interesting case I want to highlight, like case studies. The different types of disputes, related cases are there. And all these, the dispute related cases, they are put together at what particular place. And these cases are available with all the librarians. And whenever a practitioner wants to refer back, see, a lawyer wants to refer back a particular case, he has to go through the digital format of all these cases. He has to form the digital format of all these cases. He has to refer back. So they completely, all the lawyers, the advocates and everybody, they depend on what? They depend on these cases which have been digitized and made available to all the lawyers, all the advocates and the practitioners. So we need to understand that you are, as an information professionals, no doubt you have to play a very pragmatic role, but you need to understand these stakeholders, they are also subject domain experts, and they also provide a large amount of information or disseminate a large amount of information to the other people also. So thank you very much. Thank you for your patient listening.